Buenos dias, y'all. Happy Monday. I am going to bring you guys a recap from this past weekend's Hotter Than Hell race that was held out in Wichita Falls. At the onset, though, here, forgive me for looking a little bit ragged. I am definitely tired. And at a local coffee shop, actually, one of the nicest coffee shops that I've ever been to here in Waxahachie. But yeah, as you guys will see as I bust into this race report, it was a pretty grueling weekend of racing just because of the quality of the field and because of the conditions that were out there in Wichita Falls. It's Texas in the summer. It was hot. But before that, I just wanted to, if there's anybody out there that's watching this, I know I'm going to talk about the race, but one of the coolest things for me going out there every year is knowing that there are going to be 12,000 people that are on bicycles out there and not racing, but just doing the rally part of it. And some of those people go 100 miles, some of them go shorter. But if you're watching, I just wanted to say that inspires me. I love seeing that. Anybody that's riding a bicycle and doing exercise is, it fires me up. And so just to see all of those people, if you guys did it and if you guys set a new PR for your distance, or maybe you did it faster than you've ever ridden or whatever, I'd love to hear from you and be able to celebrate that with you. So yeah, good job to all those people that were out there. That is always encouraging to me because I just love seeing people on bikes and exercising and doing something healthy for themselves. So breaking down Hotter Than Hell, the race. So there were 3 races. It started on Friday evening at 6 p.m. There was a criterium, a 60-minute criterium. And then Saturday morning was a 103-mile road race. And then yesterday, was another 60-minute criterium to kind of wrap things up. So I'll start with Friday night. 6 o'clock, for those of you that didn't know, I had tremendous difficulty getting up to Wichita Falls with just a broken down car, some difficulties with getting my kids to school and daycare and all that, but we jumped in the car, we got down there, and how did the race play out? Well, I think at the start of the race, somebody was saying it was 103 degrees. It was really hot, I know that, so I had the ice sock in my neck, and I just knew to myself, I knew that it was going to be super hot, and I knew that guys just weren't going to be able to go hard for very long. It was going to be one of those where slowly but surely everybody's lights are going out and we'll see who can handle the heat the best. Unfortunately, I did what I wanted to do, which was race aggressively, but I did so probably too early. So the criterium started and I was looking for moves and I was looking to get into breakaways. I actually got into one just very small move that lasted maybe a couple of laps with another rider from Elbows, TC Porterfield, who rode really well this weekend, by the way. Great job, TC. But yeah, it was short-lived. It didn't get very much leash, but that was a match that I definitely burned. And there were a couple of other things that I did in there. I can't remember specifically, but lo and behold, when I looked down and we weren't even at 40 minutes, I thought to myself, I've got to bring this back and I've got to scale it back. I'm feeling really tired. It's kind of one of those things, guys, when you're riding in the heat, when you go over that red line, it's really hard to get it back. And so you've got to let the engine cool down and you've got to kind of, conserve energy as best you can. And I went over that red line too many times. And so when I tucked into the pack, because I had been racing in the field for, a little bit, and it was easy, it was not very difficult. But when I got back in, I realized, man, this is not going to go well. I couldn't even sit in the wheels. I mean, my legs just had nothing left. I had completely sapped them from all the energy that I had. So, walked away from Friday. I was satisfied that I rode kind of the front part of the field. I was satisfied that I was up there. I was satisfied that I gave it a couple of digs and tried to get something to happen. But, I was thinking in the back of my head, man, if you would have been a little bit more patient, I think maybe, you would have done a lot better. Obviously, I ended up dropping out at 45 minutes of 60, so I definitely could have done better because I didn't even finish. But, it was one of those things where I knew the fitness was good. I knew the legs were good. I just didn't strategically, maybe tactically kind of play out my efforts and gauge my efforts well. But I had it cemented in my head that I was going to be aggressive, and so I was. So satisfied with how I raced there, but again, I'll get back to that. I made some changes for Sunday because of Friday. But let's jump to Saturday. Saturday, 103-mile road race. Wow, what a hard day. What a hard day on the bike. The wind was howling out there. I mean, everybody from the people that raced to the people riding the rally were just talking about how crazy the wind was, how brutal it was. And then it was really hot. I mean, the projected high was 102 degrees. The average temperature for our race was 83 degrees. That doesn't sound that bad, but the fact that we started at 7:20 and we only raced for 4 hours, we were done by, 10:30, 11 o'clock, and the average temperature was already 83, and my max temp was already at 95 degrees, the maximum temperature that I recorded. So towards the end of the race, it got pretty warm. But yeah, the legs were good, and so I had the same game plan. I wanted to get into an early move. I wanted to get up the road early and just be able to rotate through with whoever was up there, knowing that there were going to be moves that were probably going to come from behind, from some of the guys that were just going to kind of sit in and just motor across the gap at some point. But I wanted to be in front of that, and so I was looking for those opportunities, and again, racing aggressively, but I felt really good. I felt great. I felt really strong, and tried several times. Got in several moves. Was very aggressive. Was always at the front. Was always attentive. And then something happened. Like later in the race, a breakaway was already gone. It had two guys, and then a move bridged up. A move went to go get that. And then I got into the second chase move and had a little group, and we were looking like we were doing okay. We were rotating through. I felt fine. I wasn't really – there were teams there, and it was, me and a couple other guys. And so I told myself, you're going to kind of hide in anonymity, pull through, but you're not, like, looking to motor this thing through and be the pacemaker. So just taking my pulls and just, in that chase group, sitting fine. Tyrell, my other teammate, Tyrell Fuchs, was in there as well. So we were like doing all right. And that's when Colin Strickland, who ended up winning the road race, made his move and just decided to go across solo because our chase move was just so incoherent. Like, people weren't wanting to work. There were a ton of people sitting on. So he went across solo, and then there were a couple of attempts to try and go get him, and none of that worked out, so he was gone. And then at that point, we're riding, and me and Tyrell did a good job just kind of trying to get off the front and trying to whittle that move down, that group down, because it was too big. And so did that a couple times. At mile 70, it might have been mile 80, like around mile 80 or something like that, I just kind of got on the accelerator a little bit. I had closed down a couple of gaps. I had bridged up to a couple of groups because at this point, guys, listen, like, guys were so tired. We were a bunch of zombies. Everybody's lights are going out. The wind had been terrible. That was like 40 kilometers of like some crazy chip seal that we rode on. So at this point, I mean, it's like guys are having trouble holding wheels and everybody's just splintered. Everybody's just spent. And so I was able to ride across a couple of gaps to keep racing forward. And my legs felt really, really good. So on one of those, I just kind of just accelerated a little bit and got a little bit of a gap and had Michael Pincus with me. And I knew we were off the front and he didn't. And I was like, let's go, dude. I mean, let's have some fun. Let's roll it and see what happens. We had like 15 miles left, I think, or something like that, 17 miles left. So it was going to be a roll of the dice trying to hold off a bunch of guys, the Omnium leader, Tony Baca, being one of them. We rolled it and... didn't end up happening. We ended up making a turn, the final turn to home, with 12 miles to go, and got slapped with a headwind. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This is usually a predominantly downhill tailwind section where we're ripping through. And usually from that point, 12 miles, we don't go under 32 miles an hour and we're done really fast. And here we go. We made that turn and it was a headwind. And I was like, this is going to be a long run into the finish. And sure enough, it was. So we made that turn. That feed zone was at mile 90. And so we got caught from behind. The group caught us, me and Pincus. And so we all kind of got back together. And at that point, I was hurting pretty bad. Tyrell was there. I was happy to see Tyrell there. I told Tyrell, listen, buddy, I had already kind of started cramping a little bit. I said, I'm going to be done here pretty soon, I think. So I need you to be up there, man. I don't know how much you can count on me for anything anymore. So at that point, they're rotating through. I sat on. I could not take any more pulls. I was trying to just get my legs back under me and recover somewhat. Unfortunately, I did recover. Unfortunately, it wasn't quick enough because that group moved away and me and a couple other guys came off that group. So all of a sudden, we're a group of three. We're death marching it, man. I mean, that group is gone. We're popped. We're death marching. We're rotating through, and trying to just finish. But, we were going so slow. We got caught from a group from behind. And so, a group from behind catches us, probably 6-7 guys. And I was like, Mario, you got to suck it up. You got to stay in this group. I mean, this is where, don't get popped out of this one. And so I did. It was pretty easy to stay in there because guys are rotating through. Again, everybody's dead. We're all just like trying to finish at this point. And I mentioned that I had been getting cramps a little bit, a second ago, and I had been getting cramps. But I said, Mario, snap out of it. You got to get these cramps, got to go away. Come on, legs are good. Everybody's tired. And I started doing the self-talk thing, and I started being real positive with myself. And I staved away the cramps. It was amazing. Like, it was one of those things. A lot of the research coming out is talking that, yeah, there's a physiological component to cramps, but there's also a big mental component to cramps. And I worked on that mental component, and I'll tell you, I didn't cramp anymore from, probably 8 miles in. I mean, I didn't feel great. I didn't feel like 100% again, but I was definitely better off than I was. So I pulled myself out of a hole, something I was really proud of. So we're, rotating through. I made a couple of efforts to try and get away from the group again. There were a lot of guys there that could sprint, and I was like, man, if this comes down to like all of us coming in, I'm probably going to be at the tail end of this group. But made a couple of attempts to try to get away. Didn't happen, so we're coming down to a sprint, and I said, well, I'm gonna play in the sprint. I mean, what do I have to lose, right? Like, let me not just lie down and let these guys sprint me. So we came down to a sprint. I think I was right in the middle of whatever group I was in. Like, I was right in the middle of that in terms of like where I finished in the sprint. I got 19th overall. So I was like, well, okay. I crossed the line. And again, guys, I was real satisfied with how I raced. I mean, I got 19th. I know that doesn't sound great. The legs were good enough to do way better than that. Had circumstances been different, but they weren't. I got in some moves, and they just happened to not be the breaks that people were going to let ride. And then, I got, the cramps and little things here and there, and just things that were kind of out of my control that I just couldn't control. And, that's how it goes. And so, satisfied with Saturday, really was. Really felt like I raced hard. Tyrell got 13th, had a great ride himself. So we did well. The process was good. Moving on to Sunday, the crit. Like I said, I knew that I was going to make some changes going into Sunday because Friday I felt like I was too aggressive on the front end, and so legs felt fine. I was ready to play, but I told myself, you're going to wait until at least 30 minutes. Maybe even 45 of this 60-minute crit, and then you can see what's going on. And there might be a breakaway up the road at that point, but that's okay. I was not going to try to get into anything early and be out all day in the crit or whatever, because now there's a team dynamic. Now the Omnium has been decided, so there's the race to see who wins the crit, but then there's a race to see who wins over all 3 races. So there's kind of 2 races going on, but I was conservative. I wasn't as conservative as I said I was going to be. I looked at my power file, and I just remember from the race, I was getting a little bit antsy before even the 30-minute mark, and there were some points there where I did some things that I probably shouldn't have done. But, c'est la vie. I mean, it is what it is. Got to the 45-minute mark, and I was still, doing okay. I was still feeling okay. And at that point, I had tucked in. So positioning was good. I'm riding in the field. I'm near the front. I'm relatively comfortable. I mean, I'm good. As good as I can be after, 2 days of hard racing under my belt before that. And so came into the final laps and just didn't really have the snap to be able to keep up with everybody, and then Tyrell crashed, and so he crashed in front of us, and so when I came by, I kind of rubbernecked a little bit and looked to make sure he was okay. A little bit of a gap opened up, which I was never able to close because that last lap was like really fast. Guys, obviously ramping it up for the sprint. But again, satisfied. I mean, that crit, I raced that crit better than I did on Friday, and I felt like Friday was probably one of the best crits that I've ever raced. So overall, the weekend was good. In terms of my development, in terms of myself as a bike racer, I got better this weekend. I know that I did. Again, the results sheet may not show that, but in terms of the process, in terms of my mindset, I feel that I did improve, and I am completely satisfied and happy with that. So yeah, we're just Monday gonna get some work done and shrug this off and learn and then move on, because this week I've got some training coming up, and we've got State Road coming up in a couple weeks, and got to make sure we're ready for that. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, I'd love to hear from you guys. You guys have any thoughts, comments, you want to share anything about your experience if you were out at the Hotter Than Hell? I hope it was a good one for you. Y'all take care. We'll talk to you soon.